I have the great pleasure of being a member of the River Valley's Unified School District Board representing Dover. And as I said, I'm also fortunate enough to have the great honor of being the executive director of the Coalition for Vermont Student Equity, which is a Vermont nonprofit. Coalition was formed last year by a group of school directors from disparate districts frustrated with the lack of progress on the implementation of the recommendations from the Pupil Weighting Factors report. We currently have 21 member boards from districts ranging from small and rural to large and urban, and from all parts of the state. While most of our member districts are currently underweight, we do have some member districts in towns, such as my own town and Washington Central School District, that are overweight. Equity ultimately benefits everyone. I want to sincerely thank the legislature for your unanimous recognition. A special thank you to the 8 of you and to the staff and stakeholders involved for your willingness to take time out of your post-COVID summer to serve on this very important task force. Coalition for Vermont Student Equity has one very straightforward goal. We read all 150 plus pages of the 2019 Pupil Weighting Factors report, most of us multiple times to fully understand the intricacies of the report. And the results came as no surprise to those of us who have lived in these communities for decades. Now we are saying it's high time to fix the flawed formula by implementing the recommendations in the report. Winooski School District, a founding member of the coalition, can't afford sufficient busing, forcing some very young children to walk long distances to school in our frigid Vermont winters. Wyndham Southeast School District doesn't have the funds to hire enough staff and instructors, causing their teachers to go without time to collaborate, plan, learn, and practice together. Wardsboro Elementary, now part of River Valley School District, had an HVAC system that, until COVID money became available, pulled air into the system from the attic instead of fresh outside air. These are just a sample of the needs that have gone unmet due to insufficient resources caused by inadequate pupil weights for small schools, rurality, high ELL populations, and high poverty populations. Correcting the weights as recommended by the 2019 report is the only way to fix this inequitable funding formula. Categorical aid, while it may seem like a simple, logical solution, does not address the actual inequity in the system. It creates a separate funding system for students with the greatest need. In addition, categorical aid doesn't provide struggling districts with any certainty. Grants can come and go. Their measurements and purpose are apt to change by the year. Districts need certainty. Using categorical aid also doesn't get to the root of the issue, which makes it hard, if not impossible, to measure differences in student needs throughout the state. The weights are how we map our student needs. Simply put, categorical aid is not equity, as it only allows for local agency and flexibility in spending decisions for some districts, but not for others. The coalition is here to be a resource for you, and we want to help. The often overused phrase, children are our future, really needs to be all children are our future, not just those from well-to-do communities. Thank you for this opportunity to introduce myself and our coalition.
I'm Allison Knott, a member of the Rutland City Board of School Commissioners and also a member of the Coalition for Vermont Student Equity. Thank you for recognizing the need to correct the weighting system in order to create equitable educational opportunities for all students in Vermont. Rutland City Public Schools has seen a significant need increase, has seen needs significantly increase over the last several years. We saw our first real spike when children born into the initial opioid epidemic hit school age. And as these children grew, so did the challenges to meeting their needs. One of the biggest challenges we face is the readiness gap. Children coming into school from economically challenged homes have not had the same early learning opportunities, developmental opportunities, and are often not as prepared as their peers. If a child is coming to school hungry, worried about what is going on at home, worried about where they will sleep, there isn't much room for learning. As children age, the gap continues to grow, perpetuating a learning gap. Rutland City Public Schools strives to meet children where they are at and provide needed supports to close these gaps. Over the years, Rutland City Public Schools has decreased staffing, reduced enrichment opportunities, increased class size, in order to reallocate resources to provide trauma-informed practices and meet the needs of economically disadvantaged students. If Rutland City Public Schools were able to receive increased resources, we could hire more counselors, social workers, paraeducators, maintain smaller class size for the needed differentiated instruction, retain qualified and experienced teachers, increase student access or expand alternative learning programs, in turn to increase student engagement and hopefully to increase graduation rates. Thank you for your legislative service and for investing your time and energy serving on this task force.
I am Martine LaRocque-Gulick. I use she, her pronouns. And thank you so much for allowing me to speak today. I did write a script just to keep myself within the limits of time, but I'm happy to speak to any of you about this issue off script anytime. So I am a school commissioner in Burlington and a resident of Burlington, and I'm a member of this coalition for Vermont student equity. I'm here to speak to you today because I do have a unique perspective as someone who works in an overweighted district but lives in an underweighted district. As the Director of Library Media Services in an overweighted Chittenden County district, I oversaw my own budget and I led a staff of 6. As an English teacher and French teacher as well, I was directly affected by resource allocation and worked closely with faculty and staff. So for years, I was really baffled by the discrepancies that I saw in funding between the 2 districts, the one I lived in and the one I worked in. And I came to realize that my library budget, where I worked, was 10 times larger than the library budget at Burlington High School. I had 6 assistants in my library. Burlington High School had 1. Where librarians in Burlington took care of technology integration for all of the schools, where I worked, we not only had tech integration specialists across the district, but we also had a well-staffed IT department with an IT director. Burlington has no IT director and an understaffed IT department. I could go on. I could talk to you about this probably for hours, but I want to give you a little bit of a flavor of some of the inequities that I've seen. As you may know, Burlington is a refugee resettlement city, and we have many English language learners in our district. We are a district where over 50% of our students have free and reduced lunch eligibility, with some of our schools as high as 71%. Okay, our needs are great. So what implementing the student weights would allow us to do would be to hire more multilingual liaisons. They have incredible demands on their time at all hours of the day. We could hire them, we could allow them to work year round, pay them adequately. We could increase training and offer stipends for teachers to improve engagement with families, including conducting home visits in the summer and after hours. This is all part of education. We could increase funding for pre-K so that we could offer more classes with increased staffing. We could implement our own equitable funding formula. We could add much needed special education teachers, as Allison said, counselors, social workers, EL teachers, paraeducators, and specialists to support our students in an inclusive setting. I'd like to close just by giving you an example of a program that's unique to Burlington that serves our very diverse population. Years ago, we realized that focusing all of our attention and all of our efforts solely on our students was not enough. We needed to integrate families and parents in the learning as well. So, and we really realized that our new American population needed to be part of the learning environment. So we started a program called Parent University. It's absolutely amazing. It teaches language skills to parents. It also teaches them what it's like to raise children in America, in Vermont, navigating the joys and the challenges of doing this. It's a vital program. It helps our students succeed, as you can imagine, and we fund it through the school district. Many of our neighbors in Chittenden County have no such program since they don't have the need, so they don't need to draw funds for a program like Parent University from their school budget. Thank you very much for devoting your time to learn about this important funding issue in our schools. And thank you for finding a way to implement the more equitable formula as recommended in this 2019 Pupil Weighting Factors report. Thanks again.
Thank you very much. And I